What is up, my Lorcana Goons? Welcome back to the Lorcana Goons channel. We are back from the DLC Fort Worth, Texas. I am on Discord right now with fellow Team Goons member Dinkan Fum, aka DK, aka Dinkan Little Deeper. Played Ruby Sapphire. Both of us ended up in top cut. I lost in top 32. He lost in top 16. We're gonna go over our deck lists, our experience with the tournament, and some more cool decks from the top cut of the Texas DLC. But first, DK, how you doing today? Introduce yourself to the Lorcana Goons community.
Yo, what's up, guys? My name is Ding Kang Pham. People call me Kang. That's totally fine by me. And yeah, I'm coming from Yu-Gi-Oh! I live in Germany, and of course, I like to travel for events. As you can see, I visited Fort Worth just for this event, nothing else, like no vacation or something. And I will continue to do so. So if you wanna say hi or something, just come up to me. But yeah, you will see me at several future events like Toronto. I will also go to Seattle, not Vegas though, because we also have a DLC in Europe at the same time. But yeah, like I really love that game. It was really fun to meet all the new people and also all the Goon guys.
Yeah, man. So, yeah, he flew all the way from Germany to the States to play in the Texas DLC. Secured his invite to the North American qualifiers, just like me. I got top 16 in Atlanta, so we're both going to be able to play in the Continental Championship. And yeah, it was a crazy event. It was a good weekend. Kong is very known in the Yu-Gi-Oh community for innovating deck lists. You know, taking lists or decks that people are already very much aware of, but kind of adapting them to the current format. And he's a great player. He does coaching for Yu-Gi-Oh already, and you know, you said you plan on doing coaching for Lorcana in the future, and even starting a potential Lorcana channel, right, dude? I know you have a current Yu-Gi-Oh channel, so if you do want to follow that, I will put the link in the description below. And as well, if you guys like this content, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you're a Lorcana Goon. But yeah, man, I first want to go over the list that I used to finish in top 32 of the event. I had a record of 5 wins, 0 losses, and 4 draws in Swiss, and I won my top 64. I played Ruby Amethyst, and this is the list. So basically, I played 5 1-drops, 4 followers, 1 broom. I think 5 1-drops is cool. You can also play 4 1-drops. I let fellow Team Goons member Frank Nicola get in my head saying that you need the 1-drops, but you know, the broom came in maybe once in the whole event as my 1-drop turn 1, but I won plenty of other games where I inked turn 1 pass. One of the things that I was getting criticized for sure was playing only 3 Flynn. I know, DK, you were even telling me that I was wrong.
Crazy.
That I was crazy. Yeah, multiple people had told me that I was crazy for 3 Flynn. You know, I guess I could use the 4th one, but I split all my Sapphire Steel matchups. Most of the time, this card doesn't even resolve that much against Sapphire Steel. It's really good against Ruby Sapphire. Yeah, it's really good against Ruby Sapphire, but I didn't play a single Ruby Sapphire all weekend. And against most other decks, this card doesn't really resolve, but you can like resolve it in a simplified game state as like the game is going on. So I do feel like you need it in the deck, but I didn't feel like I needed for them. What I play for, maybe. Kind of depends if I'm thinking people are going to be playing Ruby stuff in the meta. But now that I have experienced the Sapphire Steel meta, I'm playing Teeth and Ambitions in this deck because it does help your Flynn resolve. Usually when you're playing this deck right now, you go turn 1 followers, turn 2 Flynn, and they respond with an Argus. If you play Teeth and Ambitions, you can play Sisu on your turn 3, seeing your Teeth from your Flynn, do damage to your Sisu and deal damage to their Argus. And now their Argus is gone. You have all the tempo, and your Flynn's going to start gaining you that 3 lore again. And that's kind of what I went with this strategy with the 1 Teeth and the 2 Cuscos. My only change would be to add a 2nd Teeth and Ambitions. I think this card is extremely good this format. In this deck, using it with Cusco on Diablos was so powerful, letting people know how the rulings work.
Yeah, you told me about that, how good it was. So yeah, I'm also convinced that that card is really good.
Yeah, it has its place in the meta for sure. Everything else seems kind of mandatory. You need 4 Brawl, 4 Friends, 4 Foxes. I only played 3 Maleficent to make some room, 4 Sisus, 3 B-Kings. You could probably cut this to 2. You know, I strongly feel like this card is great, but there was a lot of times in the tournament where I was like just using this card to clear random stuff like Mickeys and little guys, because the way the format is right now, there's a lot of little characters. So sometimes this card doesn't do what you want it to do. 4 Goat, 4 Rabbit, 4 Castle because they're the best cards in all of Lorcana, 4 Maui as well. Only 2 Medusa. Again, like even the first place list only played 2 Medusa. A lot of people were telling me this was wrong. I think 2 Medusa is perfect. I don't know if you guys know this, but you can bounce Medusa back with Snake. Like you guys realize that's a play, right? And it happens a lot. And I played 1 Yzma as a third removal target, but Yzma's inkable. I didn't want to play more than 13 uninkables in this deck. I dislike playing like more than that in Ruby Amethyst, and Yzma does the same thing in a tempo game. You just want to have an out to Tamatoa, especially nowadays, bro. Do you agree with me, DK? Sapphire decks are played like Exodia right now. Like they'll wait till turn 20 or they have 20 ink. They'll slap a Tamatoa.
Yeah,
dime.
exactly. Like, for example, how I also play when I play against Red Purple is I always try to develop Dime first, and then I slam down the Tamatoa and gain lore immediately. If the Tamatoa sticks, fine. But if it doesn't, I don't really care because I hold my Tamatoa until I get the Dime. Like I pass, I draw a pass. I don't play out the Tamatoa. I mean, in the open deck list, I do. For example, in top 16, my opponent or the first place didn't play B King, right? Against that version, of course, I would play out Tamatoa. But right now, as long as the standard is like B King, they would play around it, like the good players at least. And also, I agree. Like right now, the meta is not Ruby Sapphire heavy, and against Sapphire Steel, it doesn't help much. They have way more weenies than Ruby Sapphire, right?
Yep.
So I can see the argument on cutting down to 2, maybe even play 0 like the first place.
The B
So,
King.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of
exactly.
wanted Yzma too, because this is something that can just eliminate Tamatoa without really thinking about it. You know what I mean? Like because what ends up happening is if you play Tamatoa on me and Dime, you're gonna gain like 7 lore, and you tell me if I can't clear Tamatoa, you win next turn. So my only response is either I win that turn, I clear Tamatoa, and I put you on. You better have a second one, and you can only really clear it with B prep, and this is like the 5th card that lets you clear it effectively, because most of the time they'll have a way to play around B King with it. And yeah, and like I was saying, man, Sapphire Steel makes it really hard for you to resolve cards like Flynn and Castle. So you really have to play a type of way nowadays. But this is the first place list that you were talking about right now. You played Ed Chu in top 16. We saw it on stream.
Exactly.
It was an insane game, dude. the triple castle, was
too much.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. So his list looking very, very consistent. Kind of similar to some of the stuff I was doing with the 2 Medusas, obviously. He only 12 uninkables is something I really want to point out as well. And again, I love that. I love that Edmund went ahead and kind of also saw that like really the only way you lose with this deck is when the deck like breaks on itself. Lowering the uninkable count, honestly, I think makes this like the best deck of the format. But I don't know. What do you think, DK? Do you still feel like Ruby Amethyst isn't where it needs to be in the format? Do you like Ruby Sapphire better?
Like, I think you have to innovate your deck right now because people, like, at least for DLC level, like this DLC and maybe in Bologna too, people start to tech against this deck or like even counter pick. Like there are so many steel decks. The Amber Steel song and the Green Steel, right? So many people. You can look in the top cut. Like there were like over 50% of steel decks. I think it was like 60 even or 65. And barely any red purple, right? So they all continue to play the standard list. Like I think Luca from the 10K winner also still played the same list. He told me, and you have to innovate. Like Ed, insane player. Like I played against him. He played flawlessly. I never played against a red purple player that played that well. He held the castle until the end. Like normally you will slam down 1 or 2 castles earlier, but he held it to slam down 3. That was insane.
Sometimes I just ink it. Sometimes I just ink castle
because
I tell myself
he inked it.
Yeah, because I tell myself like, bro, you got Vitalis Fire on the field. You probably got a Maui plus something else. Like I ink them away, but for him to have all 3 and tell himself, he
had all 4.
All 4.
That's the point.
There you go. Okay,
he inked 1 early in like turn 4 or 5. And then he had 3 afterwards. That was insane. No, but so he went for more cycle, which is also better than the mirror, right? Like he went for more cycle. He went for less bricky cards, which you also mentioned, which is so good, right? And less uninkables. I played this deck a lot too. So many times I had like draw. But at like 8 hand cards, I have like 7 uninkables, which are all removal. And if your opponent is also playing slow, they are doing nothing.
Yep.
So let's say you're playing against a Sapphire deck. They know your hand is full of removal, so they chill. They play maybe small wieners with Dime. They have Dimer they play Smee, Quest, Pass, and so on, right? and then you have to slowly use your removal and then play around it. And what I also really like in this build is the Sisu. So he tagged, especially he played that card for green steel, meaning on turn 6 he can already have a board wipe, which of course doesn't wipe everything because they have 3 strength or higher characters, but it gets rid of the Buckies, and also right now something spicy, Prince John. It gets rid of that, and from there on out, if they don't have Bucky anymore, you can trade with the Sisu. Like you can run into the other buddies, right? Whatever they have, because they also have 5 life, I think, right?
Yeah, that four willpower that Sisu has is really crazy because yeah, like you said, it'll clear a sad beast, it'll clear most characters in Emerald, I think right now, and Sisu quest for 3. So like dropping Sisu questing for 3 twice, that's already like that's a lot of lore you're gaining in a deck that can drop goods.
Yeah,
so.
then suddenly you have like such a big lore body. You have so much more lore pressure in the deck that already has insane lore pressure of Castle and Goat and Sisu, the small Sisu early. You know, like she can quest like 1 or twice at least before she gets removed. So it's like insane lore pressure on top. And yeah, the big Sisu was really good also against me. I wish I would have drawn Tamatoas to punish the fact that he only played B-Prep, but I didn't. But the Sisu itself was so much pressure, he just slammed it down, and I had to waste a B-Prep for that. You know?
Oh, the 2-drop Sisu or the 8-drop?
No, the big one. The big one.
Okay, yeah, the big one. Yeah, so
you just slammed it down. I had to remove it.
Yeah, you could just play it. You could just play it as a 3 lore body. You know, against certain decks. Just like you were saying, man. This deck does have an issue sometimes where, well, I mean, assuming you're playing this quote unquote standard list, you draw a bunch of uninkables, and the format is very reactive. I say it all the time. The format is extremely reactive right now. So like, if you like, that's why people are very much like play your location so I can out your location, or like play your board so I can out it with beat prep and stuff. And I think relying too heavily on that strategy can not go your way. So I do like that Ed did pick and choose like the strategy, like how I'm gonna go about it. My Tamatoa outs are just beat prep, and I feel like you don't really even it does make sense, right? Because like I was saying, when they drop Tamatoa on you, they put you on a 2-turn clock. They put you on either kill this Tamatoa or I win next turn. And if you have 2 Tamatoa in hand, which is not asking for a lot, it doesn't matter. Like it almost doesn't matter. So I kind of do like only playing 4 B prep. I think the only reason why I kept B King in my deck like 1000% mandatory is because against the Emerald Steel matchup, there's a lot of scenarios where they like shift Robin Hood on turn 4 and they pass and that's their only character. So I really like having B King for those scenarios. Also a couple scenarios where you can go like Teeth and Ambitions.
Really? That happened to you?
That happened. That literally happened to me in Swiss. That happened to me in Swiss. Like just on curve.
I've never seen that.
Just on curve. My opponent like shifted Robin Hood, sang Zeus, popped my Sisu and passed, and then like I just drew Ink, played B King and passed, and I was like, that was a great B King for me. It's happened to me multiple times. Other situations for me too, where I'm able to go like Teeth and Ambitions, pop your Diablo, sing B King with my rabbit, pop your other card, your Bucky gets popped or whatever. So stuff like that does happen, but because I am playing Teeth, I like it more. So I can, but again, like picking and choosing your strategy, your text. I do feel like you are going to start seeing more like tech heavy stuff in the DLCs, especially in the top cut, because it can get you far. I used to be a hater. I used to be a big hater on one of cards in Lorcana, but that's coming from the Yu-Gi-Oh brain. But
exactly.
But it's crazy how it's an entirely different game, bro. And I've realized now that one of cards in Lorcana, especially inkable one of cards, are really good, very powerful, very powerful. But now we have your list up here, DK. You're playing 4 different one of cards. We have Judy Hops, we have Great Stone Dragon, we have Hercules, and then we have Dig a Little Deeper. Tell me about your weekend, man. Tell me about your deck. I mean, I can tell the people right now, this man was just flaming everybody in the house, telling us you have to play red blue. If you're not playing red blue, you're gonna lose. And then he was telling everybody you have to play my list.
I did.
How'd you come up with these card choices?
Yeah, so I'm coming from Yu-Gi-Oh, right? So in Yu-Gi-Oh, how you want to build your deck normally is you want to go. You have your deck core, like because the game is really fast, right? You do like first turn combos. Sometimes you do like basically FTKs, which means first turn kill. Basically, you make a big board so your opponent cannot break it. And for that, you need everything at the max. So playset, full playsets. And when I went to this game, I got Red Blue recommended as a deck that was the best deck at the time of Chicago. It was, right? And then I just started playing it, the standard build with the Ice Blocks and Sisu. And I realized after like the first game that, Ice Block is cool. Ice Block is really cool. Don't get me wrong, like works really well with Sisu and Medusa. But the problem is you need to draw it so early, like way before the Medusas and Sisu drop, because you also cannot mess up your curve. So most of the time you want it like turn 1 if you don't have a popsicle, and then after that you go like Grammatala, or you want it like turn 4 where you have like 5 ink, and then you play something with 4, and then you can play the ice block to not ruin your curve. And I just realized if you don't draw it at the perfect timing and you top deck it, it's so dead. Like, it's uninkable. It is an item that doesn't do something immediately, and also doesn't deal with the biggest threat, which is castle, or in general locations right now. So I kicked that immediately after like testing like 2-3 times, and I just realized, yo, we need more inkables. So the standard was, I think, 22 uninkables, or 23, or 20, even 24 sometimes. Like, I saw a million list like 23, I think, or 24 even, which I also get, because you can always like say, I gamble on the high unink count, because the uninks that you can play are certainly strong, but I like the consistency about when playing, especially best of 2. So I set a rule set for myself, which I just randomly said, yo, 20 uninkables, that's it. The number is like imaginary, like you can say whatever, because if you calculate the percentage, nobody can tell you, hey, is 88 correct or is 85 correct? Because if you go like for the 85%, whatever, the numbers are not real. I'm just saying some numbers right now. Let's say you go for the lower number, but you sacrifice like power, then it's different, right? Like you go for lower consistency, but you sacrifice power. Nobody can tell you in the end what's correct or not, because cards, like every card you put in your deck in this game, like the one-offs especially, when you draw them and they all do something, as long as you put good cards in, right? As you said, like the one-offs in this games are certainly different. Like, let's say I put the big Thaler in, the one that you can shift, that says every time you ink, you gain lore, I think, right?
Yeah.
That can swing. That can win you an entire game. Like, it's really difficult to kill, because it has like 4 strength, so it cannot be removed by Medusa, and you need to be prep it basically, or like be king if she's alone, stuff like that. Like, it can swing games around. So what I did was I put every single card that was mandatory for me at 4, which is Develop Your Brain, One Jump Ahead, Brawl, Tala, Hiram, How Far, Medusa, Be Prep especially because I don't play Sisu. I don't like her, because she's good, but in the game state where you are really losing, she won't help you. The only time where she helps you is like against small weenie decks like green purple or whatever, but to be honest, I never face it. Like, I heard of it, people tell me, yo, this is your worst matchup, but I played 2 DLC, 2 set champ right now, I haven't faced it once. So yeah, I don't really care about it. So for BB prep, even if Ursula or Bear Necessities is in the meta, I need 4 just to get the second one. It happened a lot during Swiss, where my opponent used Ursula or used Bear Necessities, because I played against 2 Steel Songs, and they ripped 1 B prep, and then I drew into another and still B prep, or they wheeled me, and because I play 4, it was so likely that I draw into a second one, or even a third one or fourth one, which also happened. And that's why I play 4. For me, it's literally the best card in the game right now, because it's like just destroy everything. That's so insane. That's also why Red Purple plays 4, right? And then 2 Lucky Dimes, because mandatory, right? Some people I saw were playing 3. I wish I could play 3. If that thing would be inkable, like 10 ink inkable, I would still play 3. Like, what? Let's go. But it's uninkable, so we have to be careful. And then Tamatoa at 4, obviously, and that's it for now. Then what I did was, some of the playsets like Quill, which also was at 4, or Maui, were fine at 4. You can play for Quill, you can play for Maui, but when you add one-offs, like you break your place in this game, and you put a similar card in, but they have different purpose. Like the Greatstone Dragon is not for this card. I repeat, I don't play it because of this card. I think I never activated it against Green Steel. I play it for Red Purple. When do you need it? You need it like turn 7, turn 8, turn 9, or higher. So because it's a one-off, you would draw it late. If you draw it early and you don't want to use it because it's too slow or whatnot, just ink it. That's what you said, right? Inkable one-offs.
Yep.
If you don't need it, you ink it.
Yeah.
So the point about this card is against Ruby decks in general, where you remove each other's board every single time, every single turn. Whatever you top deck, you cannot really ink anymore because the late game top decks are normally like Tala, Hydrim, Brain, Tamatoa, Maleficent. Sometimes you draw a queen, of course you can ink her, but even her I keep sometimes because I have so much ink, so I can always develop Tamatoa and queen on the same turn, and then I can play around beaking a bit. And in this case, you normally cannot ink your top decks because you need them. Like you top deck Maleficent, you cannot ink it in the late game because you need it to remove stuff to gain the board pressure again, to have too low on board, right? That's why I play the one Greatstone Dragon, so you just get from the 9 ink count or 10 to 15 or 20, so you can play 2 threats at once. That's really important. That's what you said, right? The Exodia, the I hold my hand to one shot or two shot my opponent. So you need something that you get to get there. That's why I play 3-1. You can play 4, but again, you will cut yourself out of the slight chance. It's not even a slight chance, but of the big chance that you can go from the 9 to 15 ink, which I did a lot. Like, you should have watched my games. I should be on stream more often. I had like half of my deck in my inkwell sometimes. I had like one game, like 1/4 of my games. Sometimes I had like 20 ink. One game I had 30 ink. That was crazy. I inked just my entire hand. Like, I just went for it. And then we have like Maui and Hercules, which also picked up recently, right? I put Hercules in, I think, like right before Bochum already, like 1 week before Bochum or 2 weeks, where I started Lorcana. I just put him, like the first time I saw Castle, I just looked through the red cards and I'm like, damn, how do I deal with that? And I saw Vitalisphere and I saw Hercules, so I put both in immediately. At first it was 2 Hercules, but the problem is the uninkable count. And I was like, well, I don't really let's say Castle don't exist, right? If Castle don't exist, I would only play 4 Maui, meaning I wouldn't even like think about, hey, I need a 5th Maui or 6th Maui, maybe even 3 Maui only. But since Castle exists, I have to play something instead. Like, I need more out. So I said to myself, I want the Hercules, but I only want 4. Excuse me. I only want 4 Rushers because I don't want more. Like, if there would be no Castle, I wouldn't also want more. So with Castle, I would just want like more outside, like in terms of Hercules, but I don't want to have more Rushers. So it's also staying at 4. I see people playing 3 Maui, 2 Hercules, which is also fine. But again, it's the uninkable count. Like, they're not playing Dig a Little Deeper, so I totally understand that. But for me, again, 20 uninkables. So my main core of the deck is of uninkables is like Medusa, be prepared, 1 jump, how far, and 2 dime. That's 18 already. Because of the Hercules, I'm at 19. So I'm either playing these 19 or I decide to play a 20th card, which in this case is the Dig a Little Deeper. Where I have to tell you guys, this card is insane. I was talking with all the goons all night, right? Before, you remember, Kevin?
Yeah, literally
like, this card, insane. You have to play it. Nobody believed me. Like, Shane didn't believe me. Mike didn't believe me. Zach believed me. Like, Zach was the only one. Like, he was like, he saw it. He also didn't believe me. Then I did some test games, and then he saw how much this card swings the game around, because this deck is super predictable, right? If there's no dime on field, like, it takes like so many more turns until they get dime and then Tamatoa, you know what happens against this deck. And you also know, for example, my top 32 match against Dale Pelido, a big Yu-Gi-Oh guy, big Yu-Gi-Oh legend, also got top 8 in Chicago, right? He had the field of Prince John, Tubaki, Robin Hood, and Beast. Like, huge board for green steel. I have 0 hand cards because he discarded my entire hand, right? My field was only Medusa, Tala, and Queen, which does nothing, right? It's like, okay, I can quest for 3. I wasn't even at double digits, so it doesn't matter. I can quest for 3, and they trade with my board, and I lose, and they keep drawing with like Beast, and they keep drawing if they discard some time, they would draw from Prince John also. So what happened was I drew the how far. I sang with the Tala. I kept on purpose. I kept the Queen and the Medusa for 8. So together their cost is 8, and I got the Declare Deeper. And only because I played it, now suddenly I could sing along. You can use Queen and Medusa for that. And I got the B prep and the Tamatoa, meaning now I have a board wipe, which resetted the complete game, and I had the guaranteed follow-up. So I can tell you the B prep was like the 3rd card as top deck, and the Tamatoa was like 5th or 6th card, meaning not only I got the card I wanted, I got them way faster, because people can argue, yeah, you can also top deck like a B prep, and then next turn you can top deck in the game, but nobody can guarantee you that. But Declare Deeper guaranteed me to get the B prep and the Tamatoa at that point, because I was still having both cards at 4 in my deck, and it was so likely that I see them in that game state. That's why I like it. And the earliest, for example, I used that card was like turn 5, turn 3 Tala, turn 4 Tala, turn 5 Declare. So it's really cool. And
that's actually hilarious. That's cool that it's a sync together card. I like that you mentioned you had Queen of Hearts and Medusa to set that off, because now I know when I play against you, I'm gonna have to use teeth on that queen, so you can't sing that together. That's actually wild though, because there's things like that, I'm sure, where you catch your opponent off guard, and maybe they had a way to clear one of the queens, and they did.
People did that in Top Cut.
Okay. Yeah, man, like it's
they removed like I summoned Medusa, you know.
Yeah.
I summoned Medusa on nothing, and they removed her because they knew I just did that for the Declare Deeper. And I'm like, oh damn.
Yeah, they know, man. They're catching on. They're catching on. But yeah, it's a crazy card. If you don't know what it does, it literally says, look at the top 7 cards of your deck. Put 2 of those cards to your hand and the rest of the bottom of your deck. And just like he was saying, lets you find exactly what you need. Tamatoa's Be Prepared's lucky dimes, and just the last pieces of the puzzle, so you can swing the game to your favor and go from 0 to 20 in like 2 turns, bro.
I have one thing to say there on the list. Like I heard like other people talking about how for example Judy Hopps is not great, right? I do get what they say, because she's not winning your Sapphire matchups 100%. But the thing about her, or like the argument, for example, Moyen said was, often you will draw her too early and then you cannot utilize her. But that's the point what you said earlier, right? She's inkable. So I just ink her. Even though I need her maybe in the matchup, but it doesn't matter. She's just ink. And in this deck especially, every card that is inkable is usable. Even if it's a vanilla, it doesn't matter, because you don't have so many cards that you want to ink. Because most of the time, like I think the only dead card that you can ink all the time is Maui and Queen. But you don't draw them all the time, so like every single card you can use in every matchup somehow.
Yeah, and you have to pick and choose and learn how to ink. It's very important in Lorcana, I think. And with the whole one of inkable thing, I do like to mention that the cards you're kind of picking feel like side deck cards compared to Yu-Gi-Oh! It's like main decking part of your side deck, and if you know it's a bad matchup,
but they're usable, and that's
exactly.
insane.
They're still usable, because it's Girl Quest for 2, which is nice. But real quick, I do want to still go over some more Ruby Sapphire lists. I want to give a shout out to Sailor, an awesome guy. Came up to us, and he's very well known for playing Red Blue. Finished in top 16, member of the Lorcana Goons community in our Discord. Sailor, really appreciate talking to you. Finished top 16 also with Red Blue, playing 4 Pegasus instead of playing 4 Queen. I know this is a conversation that you've had a lot with some fellow Team Goons members like Shane Downey about whether or not you play 2 drops in the deck. How do you feel about the Pegasus or the Queen?
Yeah, so you need 2 O's simply because of the go second against the purple red, just because of they play turn 2 Flynn. You have to counter, and for that you play also a 2 drop, even if you have 1 jump, because next turn you can just sing. You can just use your 2 drop to sing 1 jump, and that's fine. So let's say they go Flynn, you go 2 drop, they go Sisu, you go 1 jump, sing, and then you go brawl. Of course, you don't draw that combination all the time, but if your opponent is drawing 2 card combos, you can do that too, right? With the 2 drop and brawl.
Yeah, not too much to ask.
Yeah, and for me, Queen just have more utility, because she deals with early threats like Merfolk, aggro stuff. Like, you know, the 1/1 weenies with 2 lore, with a 2 lore body. You can trade into that, and the Queen still stays alive, and you can trade into something else. The Pegasus first cannot deal immediately with the Merfolk. They get to quest 2 times, and against aggro, like 2 lore can be the game. right?
Yeah.
Most of the time you're winning when they're at 18, 19, or 17, something like that, and letting them quest freely is not good. And also the Pegasus, if it trades against anything, it dies. It has 1 willpower, it dies immediately.
Yeah.
And the Queen also helped me a lot to kill the locations, and it just worked as a whole. The package of my deck was, the idea was, I'm good against all the steel decks, which apparently I played 8 times, and I played 8 steel decks, 1 red purple, and else the entire deck is to beat locations. Like I beat locations. You cannot really beat goats, so you don't care about it, but you can beat locations.
Yeah.
And Pegasus didn't help there. It helps when you play Pegasus exactly on 2, but doesn't help afterwards, because afterwards, when they have enough ink, when you establish bodies on field, they will never play a castle until there will be a B prep and then double castle at once, or like triple in my case. So Pegasus would never help there. You have to hold the Queen and hold the Maui, and to one-shot the castle. That's like my opinion about the Pegasus versus Queen.
Yeah, I mean, the Ruby cards in general, very good for removing characters, removing locations. But I like that reasoning. But yeah, those are the options for your 2 drops. You want to be able to respect the opposing Flynn's and the opposing Emerald decks too. Speaking of Ruby cards, we had a Ruby Amber Mufasa list in Top Cut. Now, I want to mention this because these are some of the cool lists that were in Top 64. This was actually in Top 32. Shout out Nick Davis. Actually met him.
Yo, he sat next to me.
Yeah, okay,
I remember him.
Nice. Yeah, this is very interesting. I like this deck. One of the best plays with this deck is going Gaston into Medusa or Tremaine, which is crazy if you're, keeping control of the board, because you just clear almost any character. And then there's also scenarios where if you have insane tempo, you go Gaston into Nessus or Stitch Abomination. And this Stitch Abomination...
I saw that.
Yeah, Stitch Abomination just quests for 3, has 4/6 body, so it cannot be, popped by Medusa or like Sisu's and stuff like that. And then Nessus is a 7/5 character. This just clears castles. That's his lovely. This card will just clear any castle. And I gotta give a shout out to the Mickey Mouse BLT, bro. An 8/5/5 quest for 4 with evasive. I can't imagine how many times this resolved. But the Mufasa deck itself, I think is a very good format.
He played the golden one.
Oh, I know the one. That's why maybe it was the one gold Mickey, and we didn't see that. That'd be insane, bro. That's like a $10,000 deck right there. But yeah, I do want to mention some cool things with this deck. They're playing Pluto as their other 1-drop aside from Mulan, so they are able to go Pluto into Gaston for some greedy plays and maybe even squeeze out a Sisu empowered sibling like a couple turns early. So imagine playing the big Sisu on like turn 4, turn 5 against an Emerald deck.
Yeah, oh damn.
Yeah, it's kind of wild too. Or a Maleficent Monstrous Dragon, 2 copies of Chernobog, which is very nice. I'm used to seeing only 1 copy because I personally don't like drawing this card in 2 ofs, because then you can only play 1 for a cool minute. But yeah, Ruby Amber Mufasa.
He explained it to me. He explained it to me why he plays 2.
Oh, what do you say?
So if one is in the discard and he plays the other one, he can shuffle the bag.
Okay. And against
try to go infinite.
And against
that was the reasoning.
And there was a lot of Amber Steel in Top Cut. So yeah, you might get decked out by that deck. Actually, Shane Downey got decked out by Amber Steel playing Ruby Sapphire. So it is
true.
Yeah, it's a very reasonable expectation to have when going into such a big tournament that could possibly happen. We even have some aggro lore here with the Piglet Poo Pirate Captain. But yeah, man, I was telling Zach Stone that I thought Mufasa decks were a very good meta call for this event. You could probably take the deck all the way to the finals, even win an event, I think, depending on how good of a meta call it was. And we did see that in Atlanta with Josh Bolt playing a purple-yellow Mufasa deck last time. But congrats to Nick Davis on this interesting Ruby Amber deck. I like it. I think it's great. I think this is probably the way you do play Mufasa decks this format, especially.
Yeah, I really enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, dude. And then this deck never gets hit by Ursula or Bare Necessities, unlike which is exactly what this deck does. Emerald Amber. This guy Jordan Sergio finished in top 8 with Emerald Amber. I think this deck is very powerful. Yeah. We saw Zach Bivens also in top 64 with this color combination, being able to capitalize on Prince John and then discard their entire hand with Ursula. You Have Forgotten Me, Bare Necessity, Sudden Chill. It's insane. It's actually insane. Diablos make the deck just as good. Cricky lets you out locations with this deck. Any quest for 3. You can combine Kita with Under the Sea and just board wipe your opponent for no reason in the Emerald mirror match. And Sir Hiss gives you outs to Diablo. It lets you check Flynn. I had to play against this color combo in Swiss, and game one, I feel like I barely won game one. Barely won game one. And game two,
Really?
yeah, dude. Like game one, I feel like I barely won, mainly because my top decks were better than his, because my opponent like ripped my hand to shreds. Like straight up just ripped my hand to shreds, and both of us were top decking and in like a simplified game state, and I was able to just draw like Medusa Snake and kind of keep control of the board after that. But man, game two, I mulliganed into like B Prep, B King, and his hand was like Ursula. Then he went Bare Necessities. Then he went Sing Sudden Chill, and I was like, oh my goodness! He discarded like 3 cards from my hand turn 3, and then turn 4 he just hard cast You Have Forgotten Me. So I was just like, oh well.
Yo, I'm so afraid about turn 3 John, turn 4 You Have Forgotten Me. Like, I have no outs for that. Like, I don't play Tremaine.
Especially if turn 2 they're going Ursula Deceiver, because then they look at your hand, they know you don't have it out, they hit the 1 jump, and then they can still sing Bare Necessities to hit your Fishbone Quill if they really want to.
It's so annoying. I don't really want to play against it. I hope I won't play against it in Bologna next week.
Hey man, you better be prepared to know the deck list at least a little bit, because they're multiple in top cut. I think it's going to inspire a lot of Lorcana Goons to play some of these decks. We also have Amber Steel in top cut. This was by Chris, who got second place with Amber Steel. Love to see it. Actually pretty insane. I didn't think I'd see Amber Steel in the finals, but you know, it supposedly does have a good matchup against the Emerald Steel deck, probably because you can just play Grab Your Swords early, right? But yeah, we're seeing
that is insane. Like if you can drop like that on turn 3 already, not turn 3 but turn 4.
Oh yeah,
that's insane.
Yeah, bro. People always say like, oh, they're just gonna play Ursula.
No, turn 3 already. You can use it in the Queen.
You don't turn 2. Yeah, you can go like Queen, Queen, Shift, Queen, play Grab Your Swords.
Turn 3, but yeah.
So good. But yeah, so like in general, I like the way this deck is played right now. I love the additions of Lawrence and Baloo in this deck. It gives you the extra little boost you need to like get to that 10 to 15 lore, and then you can close the game out with flutes. This deck supposedly has a bad matchup against Ruby Sapphire. It does feel like an uphill battle against that deck, but man, like sometimes they just outpace you, bro. Like when they go turn 1 Queen, turn 2 Shift Queen, whole new world, like they get rid of your entire mulligan and all your removal. Like this deck can just win. And like I said, questing for 2 with Lawrence is really strong. He comes out with 4 strength, so you can't Medusa this card. If you have to swing a whole fox into it if you're playing Ruby Amethyst and stuff.
Did you know what I use?
What would you use?
I used Queen on it.
Queen
on it, so it was at 0 directly, and then I killed it. Okay,
there you you bumped the Queen into it, and then you kill it. Okay. Yeah, but that's something you still have to trade a whole character into it, man.
It was fine. Like he was about to wheel me either way, so I'm like, yeah, sure. I waste my hand cards now.
Makes sense.
Because I keep my hand cards low, you know.
Yep.
At some point they have to wheel you. That's a cool thing, right? At some point this deck doesn't have so much draw or something. And they're down to 1-2 cards. They have to whole new word you, because your top decks are always better. It's like the same as against Green Steel, right? And I played twice against this deck. And it's like you said, the Ruby Sapphire matchup, or like in that case also Sapphire Steel, is really favored. But especially Ruby Sapphire, especially my build, because I play Duty Hops and I killed the flute both matches. I killed the flute 4 times. It was like
you're playing the Queen.
Really cool.
You're playing the Queen with Rush 2, so there's like a world where your opponent's not really paying around that, and then you can.
Yeah, I won. That's also a situation that I want to describe. You can use Queen just to trade with the Queens, which is really important. Like they quest with the Queen, or they quest with the Robin Hood. Like that. Let's say they don't have the shift yet. I always use the my Queen to kill the Robin Hood or the small Queen, just because they couldn't shift. So
but yeah, Amber Steel still very relevant in this format. There's also a couple ways to play Amber Steel. You can play this harp version. Have you seen this list? Top 4.
Yes.
So there's one in second place and another in top 4, bro. This one by Chris Oyala. Shout out you. I know there was someone in the comments who was like, hey, I think it was SP Mask. Said that his homie made top 4, and this is him. Playing Perdita at 2 in this deck. It's a 6 cost uninkable that says when you play this character,
spicy.
Yeah, very spicy. Whenever you play it and whenever she quests, you pick a 2-cost character or less from your discard pile and you play it for free. Kind of nice in my opinion. You can bring back your golden harp after it died earlier in the game, and potentially keep it alive with more songs. No flutes in this list, and because you're not playing any flutes in this list, you have a way lower uninkable count. Only one Greatest World's Criminal Mind, which I think is outrageous. Because where's your Tamatoa outs here? One Grab Your Swords, which is again I think is wild because I thought the whole point of playing Amber Steel was to be able to play Grab Your Swords early, but we don't have the Shift Queen either. We don't even have.
They just went for the aggro approach, right? So
yeah,
they just
we don't even have
say,
the
yeah,
Robin Hood
I
queens.
don't want
No, we
to
do.
remove stuff. I just go myself. I go aggro myself, and then I law. My opponent has to keep up with me, not the other way around, right?
Yeah. You're right. This probably is like the aggro strategy of the Amber Steel. I like this version a lot. Harp is very powerful. Harp is really good. If this deck ever becomes like one of the better decks, I think we might start seeing the 3-drop uninkable Sisu be played again because it just outs cards like Harp and Ursula Vanessa, but and Perdita. But yeah, man, don't sleep on some of these cards, man. No Pixelborn meta is crazy. People are really playing some spice. There's another way of playing Amber Steel. There was another hyper aggro deck in Top Cut. There is a Amber Amethyst.
No.
Yep, an Amber Amethyst list. I like this deck. I'm gonna try and make this deck for locals. Playing my favorite cards, the new Donald Duck Musketeer Soldier and Baloo as well. We got Befuddle, Trinibog Followers, Lilo's Brooms, and Maleficents and Pascals. Oh my gosh, we're playing, what is this, 8? This is 16. We're playing 20 for 20. It's 21 drops. We're playing 21 drops.
Yeah.
That's insane. I love that. Actually 22 with the Befuddle. And then we have Snake, Piglet, Pooh Pirate, Pinocchio, Simba, and Arthur. Ooh, Arthur's seeing some play again. Only 3 castle. We got the goats because they're goat, and then we have Pongo, Snake, and Fox, bro. What do you think of this deck? Are you if you're playing red blue, this is like your worst matchup, right?
Yeah, if I see this one, I hard my for queen. Like, I hope that I draw like 2 or 3 queens. Like, otherwise, it's wraps. Like, this deck is so scary. But that's why I play queen, right? And the fear of this deck also like drives me a bit. You can see the 1/1 2 lore, right? You trade with that, and then you trade with something else. That's at least 3 lore that you saved.
Yeah.
And for one Sep Champ, I played against this deck. And I killed. I had 2 queens, and I killed 2 piglets immediately after they quest once. So that was also insane. It saved me 6 lore in the end, at least. So yeah, that's why I play queen.
Yeah, and then same thing with Ruby Amethyst, bro. A lot of people are playing like a very, people were playing a specific version of certain lists. So like you were able to kind of take advantage of that and play a hyper aggro. Because if you played against a lot of Ruby Amethyst with this list, oh yeah, you're probably winning. You were probably winning. Very nice to see. Sapphire Steel also making its way into the top 8 of this DLC in Texas. We have Steven Brent in top 8 playing Sapphire Steel with Whole New World, playing some interesting cards like Gaston. I like this in Sapphire Steel because it's very good against the Ruby Amethyst cards. Also playing Argus, like I was mentioning. A lot of Sapphire Steel is playing Argus now. It's a way to contest Flynn. If they play Flynn on you, you can drop Argus and it turns Flynn off, which is why I highly recommend you play Teeth and Ambitions in your Ruby Amethyst deck.
Also for castle, right?
Yeah, also castle. This is a great way to outcastle. Argus plus me will let you outcastle. Argus plus me does outcastle as well. It's very powerful. Yeah, man, I think Sapphire Steel is a very good deck. I played against 5 in the whole weekend, and 4 of them were in Swiss, and I split 3 of them 1-1, and I won the last one. And the last one was against Matthew Okamoto, which is unfortunate because we're homies, but it's just a very, very hard, very good deck. It's a very good deck. It has
I played
outs.
against 2, I think, but like in my opinion, if they play it well and build it well, it's not really favored for Ruby. The only thing that makes it a bit more favored for me right now is that I play stuff like Judy and Dig, not by the deck itself. And yeah, then in my opinion, that makes it a bit more favorite. But the one thing about this deck that I have to say, like, it's also control deck, and I love control deck, right? I'm playing almost the same deck but red cards. Blue Steel is so difficult to build because you cannot go the same approach as the red purple, the red blue. Because in red blue I go like place it, and then have I have like one. The only card that doesn't belong to a playset is Dig a Little Deeper, I think, and the Judy, and the rest are like basically playsets. And this deck here is like 2 off, 3 off, 1 off. Like there's not 2 lists in any major where you have like they are remotely the same, right?
Yeah.
They're like always like one Zeus or maybe two. Some people like, oh, I want more for like more removal. In that case, some people are like 4, grab your sword. Some people are like 2, let it go. Oh, so many ratios. Like I cannot deal with that. I don't know what's correct in this archetype, so I
Yeah.
don't touch it.
Yeah, it's hard in my opinion. The ratios for this deck are hard, but I do the same thing when I'm deck building, bro. I grab my mandatory cards and I put them all in like stacks of like play sets, like 4, 4, 4, 4, and then I start deciding, okay, you're not a mandatory 4, you can be a 1 of, and you know, maybe that's what they were going here. Maybe that's what Stephen Brown was going with right here. But again, I do like breaking away the play sets for certain. This one is a little bit more consistent looking like. This is by Troll House. This is by Troll House. I'm calling you Troll House. Playing 3 Argus Force Me, 3 Rise of the Titans this time. Still playing Whole New World and Mickey. So this is like what the standard blue steel list is looking like nowadays. You know, we're not playing one jump ahead anymore, which I think is kind of wild because you're sacrificing that for a card like Argus. You know, being able to do that, Teeth and Ambitions play against this deck makes it so that they can't even ramp you until turn 3, which I like. And playing Mickey and Fishbone means they're gonna have to pick and choose which one they do on that turn. So it's a very very
that
interesting
curve is
situation.
a bit weird, but they don't have like Tala like Ruby Red, Ruby Sapphire. So I get it. I get it why they are playing Mickey instead of the one jump ahead. Also,
That's
it gives
true.
you a body for B-King. Like we cannot forget that.
Yeah, that's
Um,
that's true.
actually good.
Yeah, that came up a lot, bro. People were doing that a lot. I mean, where they play like Mickey and then a Flavor Sham or something, so I wasn't able to beat king them. And yeah, it came up. It came up a couple times where I had to use both beat king in one turn just to contest their board. If not, I wasn't going to be able to win that one because of how much advantage they were generating. But yeah, so this is what Sapphire Steel is looking like right now. If you're going to be playing some more set chance for the tournament ends, and last but not least, we got to cover the Bucky decks, bro. Shout out Dale Bolito, homie Dale Bolito. Finished in top 32. Actually had to play DK in top cut, and you beat him, right? I wanted to go over his list. I wanted to go over his list because he is playing Prince John. I think that's like the most spiciest thing I've seen in Emerald Steel lately, aside from like cards like Donald Duck. A lot of people playing Donald Duck in this deck now again too. It's a 4-drop Floodborne character to trigger your Bucky, but you know, nothing too special about this deck. We know what it does. We know what's gonna happen. I'm so glad that Bucky is leaving, but you have another event before the Bucky errata, right? So I mean, do you think?
Yes, I have one in Bologna next weekend. Not this weekend, but the weekend afterwards. And like I will probably play the same, but my matchups that I don't want to face is exactly this list. Not exactly this list, but the Prince John and the Green Amber, like the Emerald Amber. Specifically this because normal like standard list they don't play Prince John, they play like Jafar, which is literally a vanilla, which I like. If they drop it, I'm like fine, cool, it doesn't do anything. But Prince John is insane because what happens against like in the matchup like Ruby Sapphire against this is I hope that they run out of gas and they don't keep dropping like Beast and Robin Hoods, right? And in this case, this deck here plays Prince like they play Bucky, Prince John. They don't even rely on Diablo so much because Prince John is also drawing your cards, so you don't need to draw like Bucky Diablo. Basically, you have another Diablo in this deck, and that's so insane because Prince John works also with like Ursula, works with like Sunchill, and that is way more consistent than before, and that's why I like this deck. By the way, like Josh Graham was also playing this. I think they worked together even to build this deck. At least that's Dale. Dale told me, I think, and yeah, not the same because giving your opponent a hand card is not bad as long as you can just literally discard with Prince John, right? Discard it and then you draw one again with Prince John. You just discard whatever they are drawing, and yeah, that is actually insane.
Yeah, I had my top 32 opponent also drop Donald on me, and it was the same thing. Like they didn't have Prince John, but they had Bucky and some other stuff set up. So I'm like, oh, I can't draw off of this Donald anyways. It almost didn't matter. But yeah, man, definitely.
Yeah, you can choose to not draw. That is really important. Like if you know, like let's say you are at 0 hand cards, and you know, like hey, they can discard regardless, right? And they have Prince John on board. Just don't draw.
Yeah,
because you can decide to draw.
You could draw your B prep and they discard it, and then if you choose not to draw, there's your B prep. And yeah, so thank you for mentioning that.
They just don't get a hand card from Prince John. So
yep. And then remember you get to choose every turn if you are or aren't going to draw, because there was the same turn where I put cards on Castle, and then I drew 3 cards for Castle, and then a card for turn, and then when it came back to the Donald, I had like 3 cards in hand, so I was like, oh yeah, I'll draw a card from your Donald, sir.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to do pick and choose. But yeah, man, Emerald Steel, you know, definitely still prominent in the meta. I like the idea of Prince John in the deck as well, especially because they have Ward. You can keep them on the field and then quest for 2 with them whenever you feel like it's necessary. And you never know how much lore they'll actually generate. But yeah, man, I think that's going to be it for today's meta breakdown, going over the DLC Fort Worth meta with the Din Kang Fama and myself. Check out his YouTube channel. Both of us finished in top cut of the DLC in Fort Worth. So, you know, Team Goons, we're up here, we're out there, man. Any final thoughts you have, DK, before we let the viewers go?
Yeah, like this is like the beginning of my journey in Lorcana. So far, it's great. It's awesome. It's really nice to meet all the new people, and I'm really happy that I joined this community.
Sick, man. Thanks so much. I'm really happy that you're here too. Again, like I know your Yu-Gi-Oh career, so it was really cool to meet you. He's an awesome guy, very good coach. He went out of his way to honestly talk to a lot of us in the house about the game and just kind of showcase to us like what it is to like to be a type of a high caliber player. And I learned a lot from you this weekend, bro. So I do appreciate it, and I look forward to like seeing your channel come to fruition, because he's gonna start a Lorcana channel. If you guys want to be a top tier player like my boy over here, make sure to follow him on Twitter first of all, and then follow his new Lorcana channel when he drops it, and his current Yu-Gi-Oh channel as well if you just want to keep up with him. So once again, thank you guys for watching. Remember to stay tuned to Lorcana Goons, and we'll see you Goons next time.